Is this thing on? And welcome everyone, this is Franco.
And I'm Navin.
And we just finished watching Xmen Apocalypse. This is going to be our spoiler-free review.
I'm going to do my best to make it spoiler-free, because I feel like you should have seen it by now.
Yeah, but, for those who haven't, spoiler-free, and then we're going to do a full-on spoiler review. So, first and foremost, just to give you a quick synopsis on what happened, it pretty much carries over what happened in Days of Future Past, where they went back in time, they did a full-on reset, and now we're in the 80s, where this new villain...
It's very 80s.
It's excessively 80s. We'll get into that a little bit more. You have this new villain, Apocalypse, who pops up. If you're not familiar with Apocalypse, he's this uber bad guy in the Xmen universe. He's really OP. Like, they're really... trust us, if you read the comics, or have seen the 90s cartoon, he's ridiculously OP.
Plus, when you watch the movie, you can see how,
yeah,
he's got, this set of powers I don't think is been seen before,
right,
in an X-Men movie.
And that was one of my gripes about the movie. That
don't get to the gripes while you're goddamn describing the movie.
Yeah, so there you have it. So you have this new bad guy, and then you have who
it's the plot of every superhero movie.
Right,
he's trying to take over the world.
He's trying to take over the world. That's the gist of it. So let's start off with what I did like, because the list is a lot shorter than what I didn't like.
Okay.
The scene with Quicksilver, I'm not getting into specifics, it was good as... it was just more of...
Was he just in the one scene, or did you mean all of his scenes?
No, the one particular scene. He was good. There's a few scenes in it that are really good, but it's sort of like small moments in a really long movie that wasn't all that great.
I wouldn't say it wasn't all that. I mean,
I personally...
It was not a... First of all, it wasn't a bad movie. To spoil the ending of the video, it wasn't a bad movie.
Yeah, but in my opinion, it wasn't that great either. It was a solid movie, I think. It was okay at best.
It was fine.
Yeah, it was like... I wouldn't, if I had to go back and tell myself to watch it in a movie theater, I probably would, I would tell myself to avoid it and just watch it at home. And normally, I'm all about...
good popcorn wise.
No, but it was very good in special effects wise. It was very good with certain action scenes. But overall, I wasn't digging a lot of the story elements. There's certain characters which we'll get into more in the spoiler-free version. There's a lot of characters that are kind of a big deal in the X-Men universe, but they only showed up in my opinion, kind of a extended cameo, because the Horsemen, Storm is a big deal. Angel is a big deal. Psylocke is a big deal, but they're like...
Psylocke's not really a big deal.
In my opinion, she was...
Angel's probably not really a big deal either.
No, Angel's one of the first X-Men. He's a big deal. And it's basically...
well, you're just introducing these new sets of characters. They're
right.
It's the first time in this read that they're young, so they're just in it, and then you have the world's biggest bad guy. So did you want them to spend an hour and a half on Storm and an hour and a half on Archangel?
I think I think we might have to move on to the spoiler version, but there's a different plot points that I think that if it was a different bad guy, it would have made more sense. It's just that Apocalypse is it's basically the X-Men universe's version of Thanos. And it took Marvel, it's taking Marvel, 15 movies to lead up to Infinity War. And X-Men, they're doing it in, a movie, basically. 2 at the most.
Right.
Yeah, so, it's sort of this is one of those characters that warrants a 2-parter type movie, in my opinion. If they would have had X-Men Apocalypse Part 1 this year and X-Men Apocalypse Part 2,
well,
it feels like there should have been more lead up to this, because certain characters, they were just there because comic book fans know who they are and it's kind of cool to see on screen, and that's about it.
You can say that about a lot of movies.
Yeah, but
you kind of just want to see someone
right.
there.
But it's sort of I feel like movies have gotten, like, if this was like the second movie of out of all of the X-Men, like this is X2, then it would have been awesome. But we've already had.
But this is technically the second movie in the new set.
In the new continuity. But you and I, as movie viewers, have the history of the first, like, from since the 2000s. So if this was Bryan Singer's rookie run, or second.
So do you compare all the Spider-Mans to the Spider-Mans before it and say, why aren't they doing this?
But Sam Raimi didn't make Amazing Spider-Man.
But
what I'm saying is,
it doesn't matter if he made it or not. But if
this is all Bryan Singer.
Series,
I understand that. But what I'm saying is, he's making mistakes. He's like, sort of like, he could have gotten away with this early 2000s because people aren't that big of a comic book fans and are like, oh, this is cool, and we're getting into the comic books. But now you're like 16 years into it, and people know now more about comic books, so they kind of expect more out of their comic book movies. So when you see something like this, in my opinion, it feels kind of half-assed. And it seems like...
I find it to be a perfectly acceptable popcorn movie.
Okay. A popcorn movie on its own, fine. But this is an X-Men movie. And you're hot on the heels of two big superhero movies.
I think...
So you got to pull out...
So you're trying to say the only good thing about the movie was Quicksilver?
No. There's more stuff than that. So basically, the other thing that I liked were the special effects and some of the action sequences. Story-wise, in my opinion, it was kind of lame.
In terms of, I mean, for me, the good parts of Quicksilver was probably the highlight of the movie. In terms of him as a character and his scenes, and he actually plays a fairly decent size. He's got a fairly decent-sized role in the movie, too, so... which is, I mean, it's a little weird, especially for Quicksilver, to have that big of a chunk of a movie, but, I mean, they did it really well, I thought, with him.
Yeah.
And I was still mad that he died in the Marvel movies.
Yeah, that's true.
But, you know, whatever.
Yeah. And
he doesn't die in this one, no spoiler alert.
I kind of dug the Cyclops and Jean Grey. At first, in the trailers, I thought they were gonna fall flat, but them two as like the primary characters, I thought they should. I was digging them enough that I wished I could have saw more of them.
See, what I thought the movie did well too was, like, since they're rebooting this and they're going back with X-Men in this new direction in a younger generation, I thought all of the younger generation stuff was cool.
Right.
With them trying to tie it in, I feel, even like when they brought in Magneto and Professor, like, I thought that whole dynamic, all of that was fine.
Right.
I think the problem with the movie was, I guess, how they decided to deal with Apocalypse. I didn't mind, like, I didn't mind any of those things. It's just how they dealt with it in terms of, they did not, I don't think they tried to build the gravitas that is Apocalypse, but I don't think they really did it. So.
I don't think you can in the amount of time that they have, especially with trying to pay attention with all these other characters, because, like, his origin, it's sort of like you're getting half of an origin, the back end of an origin story, and then you still don't know, like, all of this other stuff leading up to this one particular scene that you see in the beginning of the movie. So it feels like you're basically, like, you know, when they interrupt a TV show for, like, a news, something important that's happening on, you know, in the real life, and then they cut back to the show, and then you feel like you missed half of the show. That's how I felt watching the beginning of this. It's like you get somewhat of an origin, but it's sort of like, all right, you're getting the back end of the origin leading up to how it connects to the rest of the story. But it didn't feel complete to me.
I mean, I thought they gave you, for what they gave you for his origin, I thought they did for the length of
but
they gave you enough of an origin story for Apocalypse. It's not like you're vague about
how Apocalypse. Would you have the same sentiment if you didn't know Thing 1 about Apocalypse?
They told you what he came to be. I did.
Yeah.
I felt that they told you who Apocalypse was in their movie.
I don't know.
They might not have told you who Apocalypse... If you're a big comic book fan, then without spoiling anything, they didn't tell you who Apocalypse was in a comic book standpoint. For this movie, you understand. It's not like Wonder Woman. It's not like Wonder Woman from DC, where they chucked her into Batman vs Superman and literally told you nothing about her. They gave you a full backstory on that started with his whole origin and why he was why he wasn't around and why he came back. I thought they did a good job.
I wasn't
for
digging
this
it.
movie.
I don't know. I didn't dig it. Maybe I was asking for too much, or as my expectations were too high going in. But I wasn't too happy with it.
I mean, I think it was a perfectly acceptable popcorn movie.
Right.
Like if you're gonna go see something, I feel that I don't see why you wouldn't want to spend your money on this.
I wouldn't.
What other chips do you need to get off of your shoulder?
Well, no, because all my chips are gonna be laid down in the spoiler review. So, just in summation, I say skip it. Wait till it's on HBO or Netflix, or some other streaming service. I mean, that's where I'm at. I'm very lenient when it comes to movies, and I say skip it. So.
I think it's a perfectly fine popcorn movie. If you like superhero movies, I feel you're gonna like the movie. You're not gonna love the movie. It's one of those superhero movies where you come out of it and you're like, okay, cool. I mean, it was good for what it was. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's no great movie by any stretch of the imagination, but I think you'll walk out of it not regretting having spent the money. I don't think you need to wait for it.
And definitely skip on IMAX. Would you cough up the IMAX money?
I don't think you need to see it in IMAX or even in 3D. Well, we all know how I feel about 3D, so I'll not go into 3D.
Yeah, no. We saw it on regular 2D, and I say skip it. It was very meh. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't good.
If you need 2 hours out of your life to go in and kind of like a movie for 2 hours or 3 hours,
go watch Civil War.
Then you can watch this one. If you need to like it for the rest of your life, like Franco seems to need to want to love this movie for the rest of your life, you're not going to love it.
I think it's because of the expectations are so high now.
It's not
because we've already seen such good movies that it feels like if you don't see something, it doesn't necessarily have to be on par, but at least close. Because it's not like it's freaking rocket science.
It wasn't as bad as I think you're making it out to be. So
well, it wasn't as good as you're making it out to be. But anyway, we'll get more into it on our spoiler full review. And thanks everybody for watching. Please like and subscribe. Comment below if you saw it and let us know what you thought about it. Try to keep it spoiler free for this one and get all the comments on the spoiler full review. But again, thanks everybody for watching. Please like and subscribe. And on that note, we're out of here.